Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. Christmas is right around the corner. And historically, there usually is a rally into Christmas. So, moving forward, we need to see if that is going to persist. Obviously, last week was extremely choppy. Ridiculously choppy. We had a lot of things going on last week. It was the Fed's final meeting of the year. It was quad witching day on Friday. But now, Christmas is around the corner, baby. So we need to see if the market is going to bounce, hold these levels of support, and move on forward. So in today's video, I'm going to go over exactly that, the next steps in the indices market as well as in the crypto markets. Yeah, without further ado, let's get started with the video. All right, so the Fed had the meeting on Wednesday. The market held support, skyrocketed. The next day, it opened up even higher. But then we ended up crossing down below those same trend lines that we bought puts against, right? We bought puts Monday, and those were extremely profitable. So that same trend line that we bought the puts against, basically, right? We broke that on Thursday, and now here we are. we fell down even lower on Friday OPEX, okay? So obviously, you can clearly see this 38.2% fib level, the 458.32 level held perfectly. Now, you can see the RSI did dip down very drastically. That is, I mean, not very drastically, but it's much more bullish because this is a much more, this is a heavier move to the downside. So that is a good sign. Also, the MACD is now crossing below. So that is another good sign. So there's not as much room to the downside is what this is basically showing us on the SPY. So my thesis is I'm going to continue being bullish regardless of what is happening. Regardless of, because we just dropped down very, very drastically, right? The indicators are still not extremely oversold, blah, 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 right? But my thesis is going to be continuously bullish as long as we hold levels of support. All right. So as long as we hold 458, 457, and then, of course, this 454 level, I believe that this week will just be a shakeout. We might end up falling down even lower below this 458 level, retesting the 457 to 455 level even, right? That would force many people to potentially become bearish, and then this week that's when I feel like the Santa rally will continue, hopefully, right? That's what we can hope for, but essentially that's really it. I feel like the market fell so drastically because of OPEX as well as the profit taking from the positive Fed news, right, during the meeting. So I think that we do bounce overall, and I do also potentially feel like we will fall below 458 periodically. But I think that anything above 455, anything as long as we don't break 454, I think we're solid. Okay, so yeah, there's my analysis on the SPY. So the NASDAQ, you can see it closed much more bullishly than the SPY, right? It opened up down here and it closed above the a very important level of resistance, the 384, the 23.6% fib level right here, right? You can also see this 370 or 382.80 level also held beautifully. This is also a past level of support that I have that held beautifully. We closed above another level of resistance. The MACD is much more oversold than the SPY. We closed green. We're at support. Things are looking bullish on the NASDAQ, right? And if things are looking bullish on the NASDAQ, then of course, then it's going to help propel the SPY up as well, right? So that is a bullish sign. So yeah, I mean, if we also saw weakness in the NASDAQ, then I wouldn't be as bullish on the SPY. Does that make sense? Because a lot of these indices move together. So the NASDAQ is bullish. The SPY is basically at support. That means that the SPY can also move on higher as well. So my analysis now on the NASDAQ is basically we need to break above 388.45, this 38.2% fib. But as long as we hold 380 to 382, that is also pretty bullish. So yeah, just keep your eye on 380 to 382 on the NASDAQ. And worst case, what's going to end up happening is we're going to come back and retest this low right here at 379. But regardless, that could just continue to be the shakeout prior to the Santa rally. Okay, so keep your eye on that for the NASDAQ. All right, there's the NASDAQ, but now I really need to show you guys the IWM and something that really worries me here. So the IWM it looks really, really, really bad. It looks very, very, very bad. This is the only issue here, in my opinion, in the market, because so look, basically the MACD, it held this yellow level very nicely, right? The MACD line held the yellow level perfectly. But the fact that we continued to fall, today we even made a new low, right? Oh, sorry, Friday we even made a new low, but the fact that we continued to fall, yet the MACD still could not cross down below on the indicator and become oversold, similar to what the QQQ and similar to what the SPY did, right? The SPY barely did either. So the fact that all of this happened all the way, so like from here, the fact that it could not go oversold is very, very worrisome. So once more, this can potentially fall down to 205, 204, 205. That would bring the SPY and the NASDAQ down to below 454 and the NASDAQ to come back and test this retrend line, essentially. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, that is the biggest worry for me. So, that could end up causing the market to continue falling for the rest of the week, and then they wait until the last week of the year and the first week of next year to bounce the market back. So yeah, at this point, I'm not completely sure. Yes, there are bullish and bearish indicators. Everything did look good. The IWM on face value closed bullishly, right? That's completely fine. Obviously, look at this. Like, we closed above 213.15. We closed green. But, the RSI is moving upwards. The MACD bounced off of the, yellow line. But, the indicators and everything don't lie. And, yeah, I mean, I personally think that if they really wanted to destroy people's accounts, and take money back from retail, they would drop the market prior to Christmas. And while everyone is thinking that, oh my God, the market is going to rally into Christmas, now would be the perfect time to make everyone lose a bunch of money, right? When people aren't thinking that would be possible. So yeah, just be careful. This looks very, very dangerous. Just keep your stop losses tight. Trade smart. Do not ever trade with a complete bias towards anything, because how you view something can be completely determined by your emotions, can be determined by someone else's thoughts, everything. You completely have to be an open-minded person when you're trading and be accepting of the fact that you can be completely wrong, okay? So yeah, for the bullish case now on the IWM, if we close above 216.75, which is another trend line that we've been monitoring, and then of course the 218.12 level, 218.11 level, right? If we can close above those two levels on the IWM, then 220.54, which is a 22.6% fib level, is going to be the next upward target. And if we start reversing on the IWM and the NASDAQ, then the SPY is going to also turn back up, most likely as well. There's my analysis on the stock market. Be careful this week. Definitely be careful, because there are a lot of mixed signals. Yeah, definitely don't get chopped out towards the end of the year. We want to end the year strong. Okay, so yeah, just be careful. There's my analysis on the stock market. Now let's go ahead and talk about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is at a bit of a complicated spot here. So personally, I do believe that Bitcoin is going to end up retesting the 618% fib level and then maybe the 786% fib level at 45 and then 44 respectively. Respectfully, whatever. Anyway, respectively. There you go. Anyway, the indicators look very, very bearish. There's still tons more room to the downside according to the MACD. The RSI is moving up as if like an actual big move happened on Bitcoin, yet it didn't. So the RSI is like very excited moving upwards, yet Bitcoin didn't really give such a reason for that move, right? Which is another bearish sort of price movement in the technical indicator. So what I think can end up happening is, as long as we hold these two lows here at basically at 45,500, Bitcoin can come back and retest this trend line here, right? Which is only going to be around 48, 49,000 or whatever. But then I believe that it can definitely come back and retest 51 to 52,000 at least, right? What that would end up doing to the indicators is they would become very, very overbought. The RSI would be very, very overbought as well. And then from there, there could be another drop down to, you know, these lows anywhere around here. So the reason why I'm saying that is because the indicators currently, they look very, very bearish. And unless we have some really, really solid strength, again, hedge funds and banks, they are privy to the fact that retail is anticipating a rally at the end of the year or in January, right? So if retail is all privy to that, and if retail are expecting, oh, you know, we're going to see a rally in December and January like we did before, blah, 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 hedge funds and banks are completely aware of that. So they obviously don't want the average person to have a heavy investment in blockchain technology or in, you know, the crypto space, because banks and hedge funds were late to the party. Retail was early into the adoption of this technology, right? So they want to make retail lose as much money as possible. I think this would be the best way for them to go about doing that. So, but this would basically mean that we don't see a rally in the beginning of the year. And what this would end up doing is we could end up seeing a retest of, you know, 50 in the 50, 51 towards, you know, the end of December, early January, come back fall, you know, retest old levels of support, and then end up continuing on the rally into the end of summer. So we might not see a huge all-time high rally again until the end of summer 2022 or at the end of the year of summer 2020 or of 2022. So just be completely aware of that. Just be careful. Yeah, as long as 45,500 holds, then, you know, we can continue going on higher. The faster we fall, the more bullish for, you know, the more bullish, honestly. So the quicker we fall lower, the better it'll be for Bitcoin longer term. The more we like fake bullish move and then chop and then more fake bullish move, get the indicators overbought, and, you know, fail at resistance with everything extremely overbought, the more I think that happens, the less likely we'll have a huge rally. But I could be completely wrong. The entire space is bullish long term. So this day-to-day, short-term, bullish, bearish doesn't really make a difference in this grand scheme of things. Bitcoin is, in my opinion, going to hit 100,000, 200,000 in the next 5 to 10 years regardless, which means that all of these other coins that I'm going to go over soon are also going to do very, very well in the long term. So, I mean, guys, like, just make money and invest in the crypto space with money that you're willing to lose. But of course, this would be the maximum pain to retail. If we have a rally to 50 to 52, fail, come back down, make new lows, because everyone is expecting a early year rally in Bitcoin. So just be careful out there because it's all a game. So just be careful, stick to the levels. We need to see how they do every single day. As long as 45.5 holds, be bullish. So yeah, that's really it. Yeah, there's my analysis on Bitcoin. Now I'm going to go over all of the stocks that you guys wanted me to go over for the video that you guys posted on Twitter and sent me on Instagram. Ethereum looks garbage as well, guys. MACD's overbought. we are, you know, very, very overextended on the MACD. This wasn't something that you guys wanted me to go over, but I just wanted to show you guys that we are very, very, I mean, you can clearly see we're in a downtrend. The MACD is overbought. That doesn't make any sense, right? So that means that there's still tons more room to the downside, okay? So just keep that in mind as well. So if Ethereum looks bearish as well, you know, that could potentially trickle down into Bitcoin as well. All right, be careful. All right, DOT. You can see it's right at a bottom, but the MACD is overbought. The RSI is still not oversold, yet we friggin' dropped over 50%. And that's not good because that means that we can potentially drop even further, right? But if you want to go long, then just have tight stops at this support at 24.15. And it does give a nice risk reward trade if you have a tight invalidation below this support level. All right, there's that for DOT. BABA looks very, very bearish. Actually, as long as it holds 117.81, right? The MACD still very, very overbought. There's still, you know, tons more rooms to the downside. It's crossing down below as well, yet the RSI is moving upwards. So there's a bit of a discrepancy there, which could potentially mean that there's going to be a lot of strength and we could have a short squeeze. So if that were the case, we need to see if this 20 exponential moving average breaks above, right? So when you see a discrepancy like this where the MACD is extremely weak, it's overbought, it's moving downwards, yet the RSI is moving upwards and the price is moving upwards, then that could potentially mean we're going to move higher. So just look for a cross of 126.50, which will basically coincide with this past level of resistance, right? This very important level, and also the 20 exponential moving average. Apple does not look too bad because it dramatically fell from being very overbought on the RSI to now not being overbought, and it was very overbought on the MACD to not being overbought. It's oversold now, and we're essentially above support. So that is also a very, you know, that's a bullish signal that the fact that Apple, which is a $1 trillion company, which holds a lot of weight in the overall market, is not, it doesn't look that bearish, could be a good sign. So essentially Apple needs to hold 168.34. If it can fall back down maybe and retest this level and then go higher, that would be the best bullish case. But again, we can see that as long as it holds 171 and then 168, those are going to be very, very important levels for Apple to hold, and then we can end up going even higher on Apple. Macy's is pretty similar to DOT. The MACD is overbought. We're basically sitting at support. The RSI didn't really move much, but we had a huge drop, and that still did not make the RSI oversold at all. So that is not bullish. So we need to see, you could go long here as long as 2360, you know, have like a stop loss below 2360. You can go long here because technically it would be a good risk reward trade, but it still looks like there can be more room to the downside. But of course, if the overall market starts turning upwards and if the IWM starts doing well, then Macy's is going to do well. So yeah, just keep your eyes on that. Just be careful. Zoom closed very, very strong above this 195.80 level, obviously, right? But it failed at the 20 exponential moving average. The RSI shot up like crazy, and the MACD is now extremely overbought. So essentially what needs to happen now on Zoom for this move to continue on is 195.80 needs to hold as support. So as long as that holds, and then we can break above today's high, which basically coincides with the 20 exponential moving average, then Zoom can continue on higher. So yeah, just keep that in mind and be careful on that as well. AHT, 127, obviously, 927 obviously needs to hold. Then the important level of resistance is going to be the 20 exponential moving average, which is basically going to be around 1060, right? So it is good that, you know, we did bottom out. We're consolidating a bit on AHT. But the MACD, again, it's overbought. The RSI is moving upwards a little, yet it barely, did anything that's worthy of this move here. So just be careful about that. We need to see if these levels of support hold. If they do, then we can continue on higher. So, I mean, yeah, if you do want to go long, then you would need to have a stop loss below the prior lows, and then your targets would be the 20 exponential moving average, and then these higher levels of resistance up here. So there's that for AHT, and it also really depends on the rest of the market. You can see that there's been weakness for quite some time here. So yeah, just really be careful. So Matic, you could see that it's clearly in an uptrend, right? With multiple touches, held support, or we bounced off of this level of support multiple times, right? So that is very, very good. We're currently trading above the 20 exponential moving average, and the MACD crossed above, and it's now a bit overbought. So basically, as long as we can hold $2, right? And then as long as we hold above this trend line, which should be around 190, worst case, it should be 190, right? If it were to drop today. Then, Matic can continue going on higher. So the fact that this is doing so well while, the rest of the crypto market isn't really doing that well, that's a good sign. So, yeah, the 20 exponential moving average is going to be around 210. The next lower level of support is going to be $2 and then 190 on Matic. Then it can, continue going on higher and making potentially new highs. So there's that on Matic. CEI, it's also sitting at support. And as long as it holds above 95 cents, basically, if you want to go long here, you have a stop loss below 95 cents, and just go long. The MACD is also a bit overbought. It doesn't look that great. It means that there's still potential rooms to the downside. I'm not sure what's going on with the Bollinger Band here. Yeah, no idea. But yeah, we just need to see if we can continue on a bit higher. I'm assuming this is a 20 exponential moving average. Yeah, 116 is the level of resistance. 95 cents needs to hold. If that holds, then of course it can go on higher. This is also dependent on the SPY and crude oil and the energy sector as well, obviously. So we need to see if CL and the SPY do well. So just keep that in mind. 116 is support. That 116 is resistance. You can see that this is a bear flag as well. Then a close above 130 basically would invalidate the bear flag. And then it would signal that we potentially go on, maybe even retest $2. So crude oil, you can see that it held support recently, right? Above the 69.27 level, which is the 50% fib. This does look like a bull flag, right? Which is a bullish pattern, obviously. And, but it failed at the 20 exponential moving average, which makes me feel like we will come back down to the 69 level and break it even potentially, and come back and retest 67.50. The MACD is overbought as well. The RSI is a bit overextended for no reason, actually. So yeah, I still think there is some potential rooms to the downside. And then if crude oil does fall as well, then I think that would have a negative impact on the SPY. But of course, if crude oil can cross above 72.50, that would be pretty bullish. So keep that in mind for crude oil and the rest of the energy and oil excavation stocks. Oracle, garbage. It needs to hold today's lows, and then if not, it needs to hold 94.85. Yeah, I mean, this is just very, very disgusting. There's not really a proper buy target. There's no real reason to enter short or long at this point. Just wait. These are the levels, 94.85, 93.43. If you want to go long against those levels, have a stop loss below them. And I mean, then the next level of resistance would be 98.95. So just, that's really it. I have nothing else to say about Oracle. All right, AVAX, it held 75.68 well, right? And we've obviously crossed above out of overbought condition on the MACD. And now we're out of oversold condition on the MACD, and now we're extremely overbought. All right. So what this tells me is if we fail at 121, 122 area, and it looks like we are failing at the 121, 122 area, then AVAX is going to come back and retest 105 to 102 at least. And then we will see if it can create like a bottom around this area. And that would give time for, the MACD to cool off a bit. That would give time for the RSI to cool off a bit. And then, of course, if 102 doesn't hold, then 97. Like this, a very, very important support needs to hold as well. So yeah, overall, AVAX looks bullish. You can also see that this does look like a bull flag as well. So yeah, I mean, in the short term, we just need to see if it can hold $97, really. And if it does, then we can see new all-time highs. Not the most bullish situation here on Facebook, because it just doesn't look bullish at all. This isn't a bull flag. This isn't a bullish pattern. This is just a bunch of craziness, crazy candles, to be honest. So we need to hold 326.10, which is the 23.6% fib level. We failed perfectly on Friday at the 38.2% fib level, which is 337.23. So that's also not a good sign. The RSI is stagnant here, you can see, even though we fell and we gapped down, which is also not a good sign. And the MACD barely fell, which means that there's still tons more rooms to the downside. So just really be careful. On Facebook, this can really just continue falling and then break down below 326 again. But of course, it really all depends on the rest of the indices. So just be careful. Facebook doesn't look too good though. ENG is creating a falling wedge. So in the short term, potentially. So now if on Monday we can cross and close above 156, that would be pretty bullish, because then that can potentially mean that there would be a short squeeze to the upside and then go back and retest 175, even $2. So yeah, we've been in this falling wedge since the end of October. So yeah, if we hold 141 and then we end up breaking to the upside on this falling wedge, that could be really, really bullish on ENG for the short term. So yeah, keep that in mind. That looks pretty good. Oh, actually, and the MACD is moving upwards. The RSI is extremely oversold as well. And yeah, I mean, of course, the MACD being overbought like this means that there's still tons more rooms to the downside. But the fact that this is a falling wedge, it's a pretty good sign. So yeah, just be careful. But I do think that we could see a short squeeze on ENG soon. OPTT doesn't look that great because it's very overbought now on the MACD. It's pretty overbought now on the RSI. Essentially, as long as we can hold above 181, and I mean, like we basically became overbought on the Bollinger Bands as well, and made a big red candle here today. So what this is signaling is we can basically fall and break this uptrend and come back and retest 181. If we create a base above 180, that would be great, because then that would mean that we could potentially go back. That would give time for the MACD to cool off. That would give time for the RSI to cool off. And then, we can come back and retest 225 or $2 even, at least. All right, LVL doesn't look that bad because the MACD is oversold. It's crossing up to the upside. The RSI is oversold. It also looks like it's crossing up to the upside. So as long as 143 can hold, have a stop loss below 143, then this can, pop up to the upside, because we've had lots and lots of downside for months. And this could be the steam that is needed for a bit of a short squeeze. But of course, I mean, you have to keep tight stop losses. So just keep that in mind. 143 is a very important level of support. So a few days ago, I did a video on Doge as well. Literally the same exact level is applicable here. The 17-cent level is still very, very important. So you can see that, we essentially just need to close above 1750 and hold. We need to create a base above this level. And if we can do that, then we can continue going on higher. So yeah, man, 17 cents is just very, very important. And currently you can see that it's creating somewhat of a triangular formation, right? So it's, the next few days are going to be very, very important to see which way Doge is going to go. But if we start breaking down below 17 and we fall down to like 16.5, then that would be pretty bearish. So yeah, just keep that in mind. On Doge, 17 cents essentially needs to hold. SHIB is creating some sort of a flag pattern, right? So there's still room to the downside for it to retest at around 279, right? The MACD is overbought, which means that there's still tons more room to the downside. The RSI is stagnant, yet we've been RSI doesn't look that great either, because we can still fall the downside and it's stagnant, which means that there's still room for a vomit to the downside. So just keep that in mind on SHIB as well. Yeah, I mean, this is really also dependent on the rest of the crypto market, but this is somewhat of a pattern. So we have predefined levels to buy and to have as upward targets. So that is much better than the other cryptos as well. So yeah, essentially, as long as we hold 229 or maybe even 27, that would be pretty bullish on SHIB. So Roku looks like there's a short squeeze basically that's going on right now. The MACD is crossing upwards from the oversold condition. The RSI squeezed very, very sharply today. We closed above a very downtrend line, right, at 224. So essentially tomorrow now we need to see if 223 can hold as support. So the levels that are going to be tested if we fall are going to be 226, 228, and then 223, which is going to be a retest of the trend line. So yeah, we need to close above those three levels. And then if that is the case, then Roku can go back and even retest 265. So just keep that in mind on Roku. It's very, very, very volatile. So just keep that in mind and just be careful when you're trading it. Yeah, that's really it on Roku. All right, this is kind of what we want to see on NVIDIA, right? Because we wanted it to come back, retest support, create some sort of a bottom, and then for it to, cool off on the RSI, cool off on the MACD. And you can see the MACD is oversold. But yeah, essentially, as long as NVIDIA can hold above 271, and then you would have a stop loss, basically a bit below that, then, you can have that as a level to trade against, and that would be really, really good. And yeah, it all also depends on the SPY, the NASDAQ. But yeah, NVIDIA is at support. It looks like it can hold it, hopefully. And then if it does, then we can see 300 onward again. All right, Ethereum Classic, obviously very similar to the rest of the cryptos, overbought on the MACD, coming out of oversold on the RSI, right at support. So once again, you can buy some, hold, set a stop loss right below this level of support if you want. And then just, your target to the upside would be the 20 exponential moving average. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Be safe. Broadcom looks very, very bullish. Looks like there's a lot of room to the upside. If we can cross above the recent all-time highs at 644.75, then that could be a nice squeeze to the upside, to be honest, because you can also see the MACD is falling, yet Broadcom is moving upward. So that is a very, very good sign. So yeah, just keep that in mind on Broadcom. As long as 605 holds, then we can come back, create a base. Even if we create a base at 605, then a retest and then a break of the prior all-time highs is very, very possible on Broadcom. Pfizer, obviously also very bullish. 57.75 needs to hold. And then, if we can fall back down to 57.75, create some sort of a support, a bottom, give time for the MACD to cool off, give time for the RSI to cool off, that would be very bullish because, we just had multiple days trading outside of the upper level of the B band, which is very overextended to the upside. So having a bit of a drop, even to 55, wouldn't be bearish, essentially, right? As long as we can fall back down to support, hold that base, and then we can continue going on higher on Pfizer. Phantom is one of the coins that I back in the last bear market, I threw $100 at basically a bunch of cheap cent coins and like sub penny coins. And Phantom was one of the coins I put $100 in, and then I sold recently at like $78. So I turned 100 into 7.8 thousand. So that was fun. So yeah, I like Phantom. So yeah, as long as 124 holds, then that's bullish. But of course, obviously, we're overbought on the MACD. The RSI is moving upward, yet it's not doing much. Blah blah blah. Same concept as the rest of the cryptos and ETC and DOT and everything. We have a support level. These are the levels of support: 124, 115, essentially, right? If you want to go long against these levels, you need to have a stop loss below those levels of support. And then, yeah, you just trade it to the long side. But it really all depends on Bitcoin and whether or not these levels hold, essentially. If Bitcoin and Ethereum start acting bullishly, then everything is going to start moving upward. But the indicators show that there's still more room to the downside. So just be careful. Solana is another one. You know, great company, great product and everything. So as long as 165 to 170 can hold, we can continue going on higher. But again, today you can see that it perfectly failed at the 20 exponential moving average. And it also failed, like it's failing to cross above this level of resistance here at 185. The MACD is very overbought. The RSI is, you know, moving upward now as well. But Solana is a very, very strong coin. So, yeah, as long as 185, if 185 can break, and, you know, obviously we can hold 165, then we should go and retest new highs, in my opinion. So, yeah, Solana might even be one of the coins that helps bring Ethereum and Bitcoin potentially out of the choppiness and stagnation. So, yeah, if Solana starts breaking above 190 and then 192, you know, keep your eyes on the rest of the crypto market. All right, Yuma. Same concept as, you know, the rest of the crypto market. We're sitting at support. The MACD is extremely overbought. The RSI is very stagnant. So we need to see if 8.5 holds, right? You can go long here, have a stop loss below 8.5, and then your target would be the 20 exponential moving average at around 10. So yeah, just that can be a trade right now if you wanted to take it. But of course, again, it all depends on Bitcoin and Ethereum. Yeah, the indicators are still showing that there's still tons more room to the downside, and we're at support. So just really be careful. Yeah, that's it. Fubo, again, we're sitting at support. I mean, the MACD is now a bit, you know, barely overbought. It's moving out of RSI oversold, right? So as long as we can hold above 15.17, then we can come back and retest even $20 or at least the 20 exponential moving average. So yeah, but again, you know, the MACD is still showing that there's still tons more room to the downside. Potentially we can come back down and retest 15.18. So just be careful about Fubo. And again, also keep in mind that Fubo will do well if the IWM does well. And obviously the SPY. Amazon also doesn't look too bad. You can see that the MACD crossed above, oversold. It held support multiple times. It didn't make a new low today, right? It held the old low at approximately 3,300, right? So as long as these two levels hold as support, and clearly they did, right? Then Amazon can come back and retest the 20 exponential moving average at around 34.75. So yeah, Amazon does look a bit more promising. And of course, if Amazon does well, then that can help bring up the SPY and the NASDAQ. Costco is in an uptrend. We held the 20 exponential moving average very well. A very important level of support for Costco is going to be 541.20 on Monday. So if that breaks, then you can potentially look to go short Costco. So the MACD is very overbought. The RSI is moving downwards just a little bit. So that means that there is, you know, some room to the downside on Costco. And a break of 541.20 would signal a potential, you know, a good put buying opportunity on Costco. Riot, very heavily dependent on Bitcoin as well as the SPY. It needs to hold. It really just needs to hold this 2161 level. The MACD is overbought. The RSI is moving downwards, but it does look like there could be another drop below 2161. But of course, if the SPY and the IWM are doing well, also if Bitcoin is doing well, then this could mean that Riot does have a bit of a pop soon. And then the first target would be 2632, and then approximately the 20 exponential moving average, which should end up being at around like 29 or 2875 by the time it comes down. So yeah, there's that on Riot. Very, very dependent on the broad markets and on Bitcoin. DraftKings looks pretty good. If the IWM looks bullish and it continues to go on higher, then on Monday, if we close above approximately $29 essentially, then this would be the break of this falling wedge sort of pattern, and then that could potentially be a squeeze all the way to the 20 exponential moving average at around $32. So yeah, the MACD is oversold, moving upward. The RSI is oversold, it's moving upward as well. So yeah, there's, you know, it shows that there's potential room to the upside on DraftKings. So that is very bullish. XLV is in a huge uptrend. So on Monday, if we close below essentially 137.91, that would be a pretty good short opportunity in my opinion, because it would be the break of this sharp uptrend. So if we break below that level, then we can trade like a pretty safe short for at least $1 to the downside in my opinion. The MACD is very overbought. The RSI looks pretty bullish because, you know, we had a bit of a drop, but the RSI dropped sharply. So that is very bullish in terms of the RSI. So, yeah, but if we break down below that level, then that would be a pretty good short opportunity in my opinion. So keep that in mind on XLV. DLTR also doesn't look too bad because the RSI is dropping down sharply, and the MACD is overbought. Right, but in the short term, what happened is we failed at the 20 exponential moving average perfectly right here, right? So now what needs to end up happening is maybe we come back and retest 135, and then if we break that, we'll come back and retest 132.50. But as long as we hold that level of support, what'll end up happening to the RSIs will fall down even lower, and then the MACD will fall down even lower, and then we'll basically be very, very oversold on the MACD and a bit more on the RSI above support. So then that would be a good base for it to bounce off of and then continue making new highs potentially on DLTR. This looks like a garbage, very illiquid stock. I wouldn't really bother too much with these types of stocks, but of course, as long as 110 holds, then we can see 128. The MACD is overbought. The RSI is sharply moving upward. But yeah, 110 needs to hold. If 110 doesn't hold, then of course 94 cents. But yeah, then, you know, 130 could be the target. OMI, you know, held the 20 exponential moving average as support today perfectly, right? The MACD crossed out of oversold, bounced, and, you know, crossed above. Now it's overbought a bit. The RSI moved upward as well, but we failed at this 43.22 resistance level. So 43.22 needs to break as resistance. This low of today at $41 needs to hold as support. If that doesn't hold, then we couldn't come back and retest 38.65. Once we retest that, potentially that would give enough room for us to, you know, reset on the indicators, give us more room, create a foundation, and then continue on higher. And of course, it also depends on the rest of the stock market, how the SPY, the NASDAQ, and IWM are doing. So AMD, the MACD is actually overbought, right? Whereas NVIDIA, the MACD was oversold, right? So they're basically around the same area, right? So, but yet AMD, it shows that there's not as much upward potential as NVIDIA. So 130.60 is a very important level of support for AMD. If that can hold, essentially, you know, we can come back and retest the 20 exponential moving average, and then you can see that this is also a bear flag. So if, wow, bear flag right here, right? So now if we can come back and close above potentially 150, that would invalidate the bear flag, and then we would continue going on bullish. But this 130 needs to hold. And I would also key off of the strength of Nvidia, because they usually move together. So if Nvidia is bullish, then AMD is going to end up following Nvidia as well, and vice versa. So PLTR is just chopping around in between the 1781 level and this 1910 level. It's perfectly, right? You can see it's just chopping around, consolidating. But the MACD is still overbought, and the RSI has not really gotten oversold. So that is not really the best scenario. But if we can close and hold above 1910, create a bottom, then the 20 exponential moving average is going to be the target. Of course, we are at the bottom. You know, if people want to start getting bullish on PLTR, if the IWM starts getting bullish as well, and the SPY, right, and the NASDAQ, then we can continue going on higher, and people will see this as a good dip buying opportunity. But yeah, those are the two levels essentially we need to play against. You can wait for it to break this resistance and then come back and retest it and have a stop loss a bit below. And I think that is what I would do at this point. Or I would wait for it to drop down, but that might not happen. So it's up to you. Neo, man, goddamn. 28 needs to hold. You can see even after a huge drop, the RSI still didn't become oversold, which isn't a good sign at all. It means that there is more room to the downside, man, on Neo. So yeah, as long as 28 holds, the MACD is now overbought, but this is not a bullish signal. 28 needs to hold, then the next targets would be 33, and then the 20 exponential moving average at approximately 35. So BB, decent, it moved very, very nicely, actually. So as long as 910, it broke above 910, right? It held 842, broke above 910. Now, you know, it's coming back to retest this 20 exponential moving average. If we can hold above $9, essentially, then that can mean that we'll go back and retest $10. That's basically it. So, yeah, it also really depends on how GameStop and, you know, everything else is doing and how the IWM is doing. But yeah, as long as we hold above $8.75 and $9, BlackBerry can go and, you know, retest $10 and $11. Tesla doesn't look too bad. We're also overbought on the MACD. The RSI is whatever, but we closed above this 924 level. Now, tomorrow, if we can close above 961, then Tesla can potentially come back and retest this 1050 level, which would be pretty good. The fact that Tesla also found a bottom, similar to Apple, similar to Amazon, these bigger stocks finding support and closing green is a good signal. So just, you know, that's the level that essentially we need to see. Level of support is going to be 924. And yeah, that's that on Tesla. Upstart, 128.45 is obviously support here, right? But then the resistance is 159.66. So this doesn't give that great of a risk reward trade. If you were to take it right now, it's only a 2-to-1. So in my opinion, what might end up happening is people that didn't get a chance to buy down here are going to force the market to fall back down to around 130, 135 area, and then use 128.45 as a level of support. But of course, you could also just wait for it to break above 160 and create a foundation above that level, and then a higher from there, right? On Upstart. Basic attention token. So we need to see now if the MACD, the MACD is overbought, right? We failed at the 20 exponential moving average, but now we need to see if 98 cents can hold. And then if not, if it can hold, then 128 is going to be the level of resistance that we need to have. So if 128 gets broken and then we can create a foundation above that, then that would be very, very good. Yeah, that's really it. You can just wait for it to break above that level and then use that level as, a stop loss, maybe 124 or 125 as a stop loss. And then, yeah, BAT can continue going on higher, retest $2 even. But it all also really depends on the rest of the crypto market, Bitcoin and Ethereum. General Electric doesn't look too good. 9011 needs to hold. The MACD is overbought though. The RSI is falling. So that means, we made a new low today. So we made a new low on Friday. So it could come back down and retest $90. We also failed to close above 91.73, so that is also very, very bearish. That's not a good sign. Yeah, essentially that's really it. We need to see now if $90 holds, and then if we can close back above $92 essentially. So if $90 to $92 we create a base, then GE can come back and retest the 20 exponential moving average. So yeah, I mean, that's really it on General Electric. It doesn't look that bad in terms of the technicals, but in terms of price action, it looks very, very bearish. So MU, similar to Nvidia and AMD, right? But Nvidia had an oversold Bollinger Band. MU's Bollinger Band is also oversold, whereas AMD's, the blue line was above it, so it was overbought. So MU basically is showing that it has tons of more room to the upside. The MACD is falling. MU made a reversal candle, held support basically at $80 pretty nicely. So now the next target is going to be around $84. Then from there, 86 essentially is going to be the next target. So MU looks like it created some sort of a bottom. If 80.50 holds as support, then this is pretty bullish. And of course, if Nvidia and AMD are doing bullish as well, then MU is going to basically follow. Yeah, wax in the short term doesn't look too bullish. The MACD is very overbought. The RSI, it's basically doing nothing. And the price action is also basically doing nothing. So yeah, I mean, if 40 cents doesn't hold on wax, then this is going to continue falling. But, again, it all depends on Bitcoin and Ethereum. If we can cross above 53 cents, that would, and hold above 50. If we can cross above 53 cents and then hold above 50 cents, that would be pretty bullish for wax, right? And then that would potentially mean a retest of the 67 level. So 67 cent level. So yeah, there's that on wax. VeChain basically sitting in the middle of support and resistance. The MACD is extremely overbought. The RSI moving upward, yet VeChain isn't really doing anything important. So as long as we hold this 74 level, and then potentially you can wait for a close above this 88 level. And then, as long as we have a support created above this level here, basically then that would give lots more room to the upside. But of course, this all really depends on Bitcoin and Ethereum. So just keep your eyes on those and on these specific levels. Sand, as long as we hold 442 and 412, essentially, I mean, this is still pretty bullish. The structure is bullish. The only thing is that the MACD is overbought. The RSI is pretty stagnant. That doesn't really mean anything. But as long as we hold those two levels of support, then yeah, we can continue going on even higher. And you can see that this is clearly, a bull flag. And if we can close above this downtrend level here, tomorrow that level would approximately be 560. So if we close above 560, that would be a nice breakout to the top side. So just keep your eyes on that level for sand. Engine is another coin that I told basically everyone that I know to buy at a few cents, and then I told them to buy it again at 17 cents, 18 cents. So made a lot of money on Engine as well, thank God. So what essentially here it is. So 219 needs to hold, very similar to the rest of the other cryptos we were looking at. The MACD overbought, the RSI barely doing anything, but we're sitting at support now. So everything is really just waiting to see how Bitcoin is going to respond. So one interesting thing though is you can see that we have this downtrend. So today, Sunday, right, the level that needs to close above to break this downtrend would essentially be 250, right? Tomorrow, that level is going to be 245. So if we can close above 245, 246 Monday, or 250 today, then that would be a nice move to the upside potentially on Engine. So keep that in mind. And then 218, essentially 219 needs to hold. If you want to go long against that level, you could have that a bit lower as support, as a stop loss. And yeah, just be wary because the MACD is still showing tons of weakness. So that means that engine could fall down a bit lower. Grab. So you can see that 675 held the support, right? But this long wick to the downside isn't very bullish. You can see we're now overbought on the MACD. We're coming out of oversold on the RSI. So the next key level of resistance now is going to be 808. So if 808 can break, then we can, create a bottom above that level and then go higher. Then the next target would be the 20 exponential moving average, which will end up being around like 975. So yeah, Grab has the potential to keep on going higher. And this does look like a short squeeze in the making, but $8.08 needs to break for that to happen. All right, CHPT obviously also at a bottom here. It held this level of support at 1760 very, very well. The MACD is now overbought. The RSI is stagnant a bit. You can see that it's basically just fading into the darkness. But it all really depends on how the SPY and the IWM are going to do. And, the electrical vehicle companies. So if, we hold 1760, then this can have a retest of the 20 exponential moving average. But again, obviously, the MACD overbought like this is not a good sign. Overbought MACD while we're still falling is not bullish. So just be careful. MVIS made a new low on Friday as well. It broke Wednesday's low at 563. It made a new low today to 552. So essentially 550 holds, then we can continue going on higher. But I do think that we could fall a bit lower because the MACD is, very, very tight. So it does look like there could be a squeeze, to be honest, to the upside, to like 675. Then 675 is going to be a very important level of resistance. If we can cross above that and maybe even close above 7, then that would be very, very bullish. And then potentially we can see a move back up to $10 on MVIS. mRNA closed very, very bullishly. We closed above the 20 exponential moving average. And essentially we closed at this prior low. We filled this gap. The MACD just crossed up above, which is very bullish, which means that there's still tons more room to the upside. Potentially mRNA can go back and retest 330 because the RSI also barely moved, yet we had a very bullish few days. So that's very, very bullish for mRNA. So GameStop, this prior trend line that I had before, this downtrend line right here, right? We came back and retested that. We crossed down a bit below, but we rejected that low. And now we are basically tagging along this trend line here. And now, essentially what needs to happen now on GameStop is we need to close above 157. That is the next level of resistance. Once we close above 157, then the next target is going to be the 20 exponential moving average, which should end up being around 175. All right, so close above 157. Next target is going to be around 175. So, this is very bullish. Just keep in mind that GameStop can fall back down and retest this trend line, and then go on even higher. Also, very dependent on the SPY and the IWM. So just keep that in mind. Be careful. I hope I brought value to you guys with this video. I hope I helped. If you made it to the end of the video here, make sure to subscribe, put on post notifications, like, comment, share this with your friends and family. Let me know if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I post a bunch of stuff all throughout there. So yeah, if you guys enjoy the video, content, do all that good stuff, thank you so much for watching. I'm really, really thankful that I get to help so many people, and I hope I helped you as well. Thank you.